Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Price, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is the third volume in a report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesis adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee and players Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt as Attikus Viz, Laura Hamstra as Eli Sharp, and Della Borovic as Morgan Rawls. My report shows that the Inquisitorial band has found security, staff, and criminal contacts. Valentyne organized the hiring, Attikus coached Hugh to harness his personal power, Morgan discovered some criminal allies, and Eli struggled to keep up appearances. What will our heroes discover when they look into Atticus's romantic rivals? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
From the Lizardman Letter. It is, of course, well known in the society that the race is one of the most exciting events that can occur in a season. After all, some choose to live on the edge, try to go real fast. Others prefer a safer route and often come out ahead. Who knows what will happen this year? All I know is that it will be entertaining as shit, particularly given the arrival of a certain rogue trader who I believe is going to upend things rather spectacularly. Stay tuned. So, unlike Gideon Kotov's murderer collage, this is like a almost like a real estate event where there's just very polite packets of information that have been set up. Hugh has managed to get some A-frame. So not A-frame, that's the wrong term, but just some very thin easels, and has set up a picture of each major rival for you. That said, it does feel a little bit like it's happening in a dank church basement, because the place still hasn't been renovated. So it's all the stuff he's setting up is very nice. He's got he's put down nice new blankets over some of the grotty rotted chairs. To try and give you all somewhere nice to sit, or certainly at least Francois Van Houten, his lord. Attikus, a blanket on a chair seems unnecessary to you, but here we are.
Blanket on a chair.
So he welcomes you all in. He's got a little fuel burning element going. He's got a little teapot ready. He's got some just a variety of chipped cups that he's clearly washed, but are of a variety of kind of broken things. And then he also has just the equivalent of a fistful of McDonald's sugar packets, just thrown down next to it, because there's nothing here. So yeah. he's kind of just got what he's got from his car. Wow. And he welcomes you in. And says, yes, Lord Van Houten, Captain, hangers on, welcome. I'm excited to give you sort of a rundown on your rivals. I would ask in advance, do you have any questions for me up front that you'd like me to keep in mind, or things you're particularly interested in?
Are there a list of strengths that these potential suitors have? Something for us to be aware of in our interactions?
He kind of gives you a half nod, one of those sort of nods, and explains, we certainly know what the houses are most famous for. In this particular instance, all of these heirs are rather eligible, but none of them have ever truly vied for someone in a season. They've been vied for, but without someone of the Duke's caliber, there hasn't been any need for any of them to really show what they've got. So we have a rough sense of who they are, but we don't have, we've never seen any of them fully compete for someone's hand before. But we should be able to get a rather good sense of them just from what is known about their houses should help a little bit, as well as their station. And certainly at least one of them has a rather notorious reputation in the society. It's a bit of a man about town, as it were. So some reputations will precede, and we do have some details that you can draw from. I'm going to need a roll to see how much information you're going to get from Hugh on this particular instance. I'm not going to roll for Hugh because that's insane. And he doesn't have stats. He's just a person floating around. I have full minion stats or some nonsense. So I think ultimately I'm probably going to want a streetwise check. I would take this from Valentyne, given that you're kind of managing Hugh at this point, with probably Morgan assisting.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll use my score and then add a boost for Morgan.
I think so, because Morgan's been dealing with the criminal element, so it makes sense to me that if she was focused there, you would be more focused on like what details do we get from the society itself.
Yep, that makes sense. What's our difficulty, Tom?
Difficulty is going to be 2. Hugh is an apprentice clerk, so he doesn't have access to everything, but he's also has grown up in this place, so he's certainly heard rumblings and grumblings.
And in a world this wealthy, we'd be more interested in the grumblings than we would in the official story of any incredibly wealthy person.
For sure, and it's just...
I'm going to say we'd be more interested in the grumblings than the rumblings.
I'm not here for the rumblings. Those are for lesser people.
The and I can take or leave, but the rumblings for certain. Yeah, the challenge here is that because these folks basically haven't had their equivalent of like a coming out party, no one really knows what their deal is. They are known, they're around, but they're always seen like on the arm of the, patriarch or matriarch or patriarchal person of...
They're like those weird pharma billionaires where you're like, well, we have 3 photos and we know what the company does, but I don't know, they went to the Met Gala once?
Yes, it's very much that, or literally in like a Bridgerton-esque thing, it's like, hey, there's that hot lady who's always there with like this lord, and we know she's his daughter, we don't know anything about her other than she's like there. And it's like, surprise, she can play the violin with a gun, and you're like, oh, fuck, okay.
Wow.
But till then, you're just like, oh,
guys,
yeah.
I have not seen Bridgerton yet, and now I know what kind of things I'm missing out on.
Spoilies.
Gun violence.
Gun violence. I assume I haven't finished season 2, but I feel like they're building to gun violence. It's really the only way.
Okay, so I can skip season 1.
It's the better of the two. Okay, so 2 difficulty, boost from Morgan. I'd actually say we can probably say 2 boost from Morgan, given that you have a criminal network starting to deliver stuff. So like Hugh might randomly find envelopes in his car that he has not seen before. Jesus. Got
the hookups.
Exactly. Yeah. So 2 boost. In terms of setbacks, I think it's kind of just captured in the difficulty, honestly. I don't think like Hugh is good at his job, so it's not like you take a minus for Hugh being an idiot or anything. I think that's it for me. And we haven't used story points in a long time, but we're at like, I believe 2 and 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like this is
forever at 2 and 3.
I feel like this is, it's 2 for us and 3 for him. So it's the opposite of our usual 3 and 2.
Yeah,
but it's always just a 2 and a 3 belonging to one party.
Also, keep in mind you can burn story points for plot things. So this is also like we're going to do a roll for this one because that's the way it panned out. But don't be afraid to just be like, I want to spend a story point to learn
about this. Yeah, cool. we may do that in future. But I feel like with this being Hugh, this should just be a roll, and then we can do our own work after. 4 successes.
All right. Well, I'll just hand you my notebook.
Yay!
Okay.
That's all I ever wanted.
Okay. So the first person is Gwenvere Ballensong. He says kind of gestures to her. She's got a Florence Pugh vibe going on. So just kind of like a bit of a like a sly smile, but also very like seems very approachable. Like even the photo is very warm. Again, that these are like 40K photos, so keep in mind that there is a like sepia kind of filtered quality to it. That it's not like, despite how bright and cheery this place is, the technology is still the rotting technology of the grim dark future. So there's a photo of her, and he says, I believe you've already encountered Lady Ballensong's generosity. As I mentioned, she is a product of tremendous tragedy, but hasn't seemed to have allowed that to impede her good spirit. She is generally known as generous and kind, while also being incredibly capable and intelligent. Throughout the society, which of course has led to a great deal of resentment, not because of any action she has taken, but rather because of the actions she takes. A lot of folks are mad that she is able to balance all of these things without seeming to have any dark secret or, there aren't rumors that she beats her servants or anything. And normally that is kind of what goes hand in hand with huge outward generosity. And there's something about an incredibly genuine person who has risen above tragedy that seems to really piss off the society. So she is welcome in every house, but also, I believe, holds a mirror up to the people in those houses in a way that they do not particularly care for. Her parents, as I mentioned, died in a crash along with her elder brother. So she is currently running the Ball and Song family and seems to be doing a fairly decent job of it, all things considered, given that she was sort of thrust into this circumstance. She is still observing mourning in her own way, but has reintegrated into society rather quickly, largely because she's the only one available to run the house. House Ball and Song is very well off. As I mentioned previously, they were one of the first in when Greybridge was established. The planet once had a variety of societies on it, some of whom fell in with the unspeakable enemy of the Imperium and were, as we were told, nuked into the ground, as it were. So from the ashes rose Greybridge, and they were some of the first folks here and set up one of the first shipyards, and as a result have made a mint building some of the best ships. Now they really only do custom jobs. As rumor has it, that a Ball and Song custom is really only made once every 10 years. They spend a long time making it. They're incredibly expensive, and a lot of them go straight to Terra. Next, and it just kind of moves over, and there's just a Paul Rudd looking guy, nice, easy smile. The outfit, you can see, even from your kind of limited knowledge of fancy clothes, is like a little much. There's just like collars where there were no collars before. Like,
wow.
It's just a lot of, it's weirdly like, I think, Morgan, what you feared Attikus was going to look like when you gussied him up, where it's just like, oh, this is quite a lot. And Hugh says, and also you guys can jump in with questions at any point. Like, I'm going to monologue until you cut me off. So
that's fine. We're learning important information.
Yeah.
It gives us like 4 or 5 bullet points per person, which I can keep track of. So this is good.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So seeing that there's no questions, he moves on to the next one. He says, this is Robbie Boberstein.
Yes.
Robbie Robert is his given name, but he insists on being called Robbie. He is, the Boberstein family is relatively new money and here in the society. They have noticed some rather glaring gaps in the needs here on the planet and have proceeded to fill those. I will say, as you can probably see from our technology, there's a certain style that the planet and the society tends to adhere to. However, that has meant that as technology has progressed and improved and new things have been discovered by the Mechanicus, often those progressions don't reach us for quite some time. So simple things like rigging up better video terminals, the advent of slightly more advanced flyers, more anti-grav vehicles, all of those can be traced to the Boberstein family, who immigrated from off-world and have arrived here and have made a bit of a splash. Of course, with that comes some deal of resentment from some of the older families who have been here since Greybridge's founding, as well as the unfortunate trend in particularly Robbie's life of desperately wanting to be viewed as an equal by the other houses. It has led him to certain excesses of spending, fashion, and attitude that some find distasteful, but whether that is his fault or theirs remains to be seen. He is generally genial, pleasant, if a bit naive when it comes to certain things. He has been born into money, has not earned it, and does not understand what his family went through in order to establish themselves here at Greybridge. It took 2 generations for the Boberstein family to really properly install themselves here. He is the 3rd generation and has reaped the benefits of our world without having to go through the hardships of it.
So I think Valentine's brain, maybe we can just do our intellectual reactions so that everybody knows what we're thinking about it as we go through. Because then I'm like, I feel like we just listened to this, but it might be worth tracking where all of our thoughts are. Guinevere sounds pretty capable. Sounds like a legitimate threat because she seems confident in what she's doing, which would undoubtedly be attractive. He doesn't know if this major family is really important, they may not need somebody who's super hungry or ambitious, so she's like a threat. This guy sounds like a bit of a dumbass. Unless he turns out to be super capable or something, this seems like a relative non-threat. There's always a chance one of these people is playing dumb and actually very smart, but this seems like a situation where that doesn't seem obviously advantageous.
Yeah, that wouldn't occur to Attikus either. He'd be taking all this at face value, just because he's used to receiving intel in a more kind of just sort of
fact-based environment,
fact-based, but also just like the strictest like need to know information for someone of his station, right? Like very, very grunt level kind of this is all you need to know kind of stuff. So he's taking this in that fashion of just this is all he needs to know. There's nothing deeper here. So he's like, all right, Guinevere, no problem. Robbie, no problem.
Great.
I think Robert Boberstein could be someone who may be used as a pawn by someone else if he's naive.
So is Eli thinking that he can play him, or what's Eli thinking
Eli's
about that
thinking
use?
that either we can play him or he may be being played by someone else and could be a threat of some sort even if he's not aware he is.
I mean, Morgan is thinking from her pretend captain backstory of that this person seems like this person particularly seems like if they're third generation and they're just like born into this, they are probably a schlub. But the situation of there being new technology brought in by this person and this family, and we're looking for an Eldar and all that stuff is like there might be something weird going on with the new like imports of technology that is happening with this family in particular. The person does not seem like a particular threat unless we meet them, but it's like that backstory seems hanky to her.
And then we all keep listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hugh just looks at all your faces and he's like, in his head, he's like, I always wonder what they're thinking when I give these presentations. I bet it's very interesting. So he moves along to a guy who's just like got aristocrat written all over his features, just like, just like a tiny, slightly upturned, pointed nose, high cheekbones, wearing just like a bit of makeup. Has kind of like meticulously curled hair, tight collar around the neck, and just like is looking down his nose into the camera lens. And Hugh says, this is Tridimus Versailles. The Versailles family is perhaps rival best to both the Fitzgeralds and the Bolin songs. They are responsible for a lot of the building here and own a lot of the property here on Grey Bridge. The Versailles family has done tremendously well over the years, and Tridimus is the most recent product of their particular brand of aristocracy. He is old money in the deepest sense, and is known to be very aloof, very cold. However, having grown up with the benefit of all of the wealth of the Versailles family, is incredibly well-read, incredibly intelligent, and has a variety of talents, artistic and at some point he was a trained dancer. He really has benefited from a life of being able to just learn whatever he wants, and as a result is quite a fascinating, if slightly inscrutable person. You rolled high, so I'm going to give you a little bit more on this. According to the, if Lizzo Lizardman is to be believed, however, the Versailles family is starting to run low on resources. As you may have noticed, our planet is rather developed at this point, and there isn't a whole lot more that can be built. The Fitzgeralds established long ago that buildings could only be 4 stories tall at the absolute zenith of their build in order to ensure a certain style across the society. This has led to some difficulties for the Versailles family, as having built all the buildings they could build and having no ability to build larger or higher ones, they are running out of options to earn, which is, of course, a problem when you have expenses of extreme wealth from generations. If the money stops, well, things stop. This is, of course, purely rumors and hearsay. Only rumblings. I understand you're not interested in grumblings, but of the two. So there might be something at stake for Tritimus in this particular match with the Duke. For an influx of additional money and perhaps influence with the Fitzgeralds would go a long way to restoring the Versailles family to the money to which they are accustomed.
All right, so Valentyne is thinking, now we have a threat.
Yeah.
But we have a threat with an obvious weakness. This guy, because we know the Duke is looking for someone who is kind of like more of an actual connection than just money. We have an incredibly money-hungry candidate who needs political power to stabilize a house, who is also charming, smart, put together, and fascinating, which is just like, oh, fuck. All the things Attikus isn't. And Valentyne is aware that, like, the backup plan is Morgan. Morgan's not aware of this. He's not going to bring that up unless it starts to matter. But what we do have is an obvious problem, which is they can't build more than 4 stories. And if there's a way to solve that problem, Tritimus doesn't have to marry off. And if he's an arrogant dickbag, then he won't want to. So there's the possibility Valentyne is now thinking of, if he can get the Bobersteins to agree to it, to bring in technology, if buildings can't be built up, they can be built down. If he can get digging technology for people to be able to build underground additional floors to houses, all of a sudden you can create a new renovation craze that the Versailles can take over with the Bobersteins and take them both out of this fucking equation. So he's got some ideas.
Mm.
Now you're thinking in Queen's University buildings.
I know, eh?
Okay. Anyone else have thoughts on Tritimus Versailles?
Yeah, Morgan's only thoughts with this guy is similar. Like, this is a threat, but less that he is a threat to their mission, which obviously Valentyne has covered. But Morgan's thought is, of the people so far that might find out that we are not who we say we are, this guy seems the most threatening. Because if it's a smart, book-learned, quiet, inquisitive guy, it's like this is the one we have to be careful around.
Yes, likewise, Eli has just thought, like, I need to stay away from this person. It'll be very hard to maintain any sense of deference towards this guy. He's going to be an asshole.
Yeah.
I like that threat matrix. It's like threat to our mission, threat to our mission, threat to our mission, threat to Eli.
Yeah.
Threat to Eli, just punch him in the fucking snoot.
Yeah, threat to mission, threat to self, threat to Eli. Threat to acting.
Yeah.
Attikus, are you still on need to know in your brain?
Very much so. I think any thoughts he has about Tritimus is...
He sounds a bit like Valentyne. Oh dear.
Amazing. So Hugh moves along to the next portrait, and on this one, his face kind of falls a little bit. There's a bit of a like he's smelled something foul.
Must be void stain.
Well, you'd think. And the picture you see here is very much of a like Rory Culkin sort of circa probably Succession age, where it's just like he's got that little smirk. Oh. And there's just a bit of a shit-eater grin. Rory Culkin, if you don't know, is Macaulay Culkin's younger brother, who has just gone on to like a hell of a career. He's in Scott Pilgrim.
Was that Kieran Culkin?
Kieran Culkin. I'm sorry.
Culkin.
Rory is a different Culkin. Yes, Kieran Culkin.
Okay.
Famous in my heart for Look Out, It's That One Guy. Never do better than that.
Roommate Wallace.
Yeah, basically just like, if you're looking for a non-Culkin-esque pull for this, just literally a guy who is smiling like he knows something that you should know and is not telling you.
Timothy Chalamet?
Like a
He
slight,
doesn't smile.
a slightly, less
He's
pretty
just
Timothy
constant
Chalamet.
blue steel.
Yeah, but yeah, very much just that sense of like, I know something that you don't know. And it's even from the photo, it's like he's leaning through, baiting you to ask what he's so smug about. And Hugh says, this is Venkari Kiros. The Kiros family is a bit of an interesting one. When Versailles was tied up building things and Balensong was tied up creating the ship industry, the Kiros family saw an opportunity to simply improve upon everything that had already been made here. They are responsible for a lot of the decoration you see, a lot of the style of the society rests with them. And in fact, Both building decoration and fashion is heavily influenced by them even to this day. On that note, when we do decide to zhuzh up the estate here, you will very likely be purchasing Kuros adornments for it, as they are still the most popular and highest sought after goods on the planet. As a result of this, they've made a tremendous amount of money without having to do nearly as much work. They have stood on the shoulders of giants, as it were, and it has rubbed the Versailles family in particular the wrong way for years. While the Balancong have been relatively appreciative of someone turning an artistic eye to their work, the Versailles family has always resented the Kuros family stepping in to beautify their works, having thought their works were beautiful enough on their own. Valentyne is the youngest son of the Kuros family. The other siblings have all already been married off, and it is well known that he is incredibly bored, which is a dangerous thing for someone with tremendous wealth. The rumor is that he has entered the race for the Duke's hand simply for sport, that this is an entertainment and a prize. Unfortunately, it is rumored that the Duke Wixthrop likes his moxie, and as a result is rather attracted in the classic bad boy situation, as it were. But Valentyne has a rather heavy reputation around town for getting up to no good, which seems to be a point of allurement for the Duke, a point of amusement for the king, and a point of frustration for the other houses. I myself have had compatriots who have gone to work for the Kuros family, all of whom have been treated terribly, so I do not have much love in my heart for them, if I'm being for successes honest.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Valentyne thinks this dude's annoying because it's the same niche we want to play to interests of for Attikus. His family's very powerful, but he also sounds like he's kind of an idiot because he's like out for his own entertainment, and his staff hate him, which is the best, because if we've got an in with the staff, that'll be the easiest house for us to get actual information on. And if this guy's out like doing like speed ship chases and other dumb shit, he's the easiest one to like just have a really tragic accident and just be eliminated from the games in that way. So a threat, he doesn't like it, but we haven't committed Attikus to any sort of personality publicly yet. So we can still kind of decide what dear Francois' take is to draw in attention. Still less scary than Trinimus, but complicated.
Yeah, Attikus was banking on being the exciting candidate, being from off-world and having seen action, however that's going to be interpreted by nobles when one of them is in the military or whatever it is. So yeah,
I'm
Attikus
here to bring
is,
excitement to your life.
yeah.
I love it.
Attikus is
Me, you'll feel things for the first time.
I live my life a quarter of a mile at a time.
Stop stealing all my lines. I need those to flirt. So yeah, he actually does think of Valentyne as a fairly legitimate threat, and I think surprisingly to, I guess maybe the audience, I don't think, like, we're not really sharing our thoughts with each other yet, but he's thinking something similar to Valentyne, of like,
It'd be a shame if something were to happen to this Valentyne.
Yeah. Morgan tracked at first that Hugh had an instant reaction and was going to ask, but he then said that it was personal. So Morgan's thinking along the lines of, and if something does happen to this man, maybe then we can have more servants or more people who will be loyal if this person is shitty in such an obvious way. Yeah.
Dig it.
Eli, any thoughts?
Oh, Eli's just wondering, is it possible to kill them all?
Circling right back around to where we started.
Yep.
Eli's plan is an Ouroboros of more information. Can we kill them all?
Yeah, it's like everyone's looking at like files, and it's like, oh yeah, like there's the ship, there's this, and it's like the camera pans to Eli, whose eyes are just slowly dropping to the umbrella shotgun, just longingly.
Nuke the planet.
Yeah.
Everybody else has all the strings between things. Eli has a list of targets with a gun drawn next to their head, just in a row.
Just crosshair stickers.
Just check mark boxes ready to when things are eliminated.
What's your plan, Eli? Pew, pew, pew.
Playing the violin with the gun.
Yeah, exactly. That's the sound it makes. Okay. And then he moves along to to the final picture. And this one is just like a young Paul Giamatti. Just that hangdog expression, just kind of like eyes a bit sunken. Just kind of his whole face is kind of like drooping with the exhaustion of the world. He's got stubble, his hair's a little unkempt, and he's just kind of like looking at the camera almost like it's an obligation. It's like someone be like, hey, sorry, you need to look at the camera before I can take this. So it really is that kind of photo where it's just kind of like a look up and all right, here you go. Kind of like the Charlie Brown theme is practically playing as you look at this man. And Hugh says, finally we have Sacatur Voidstain. The Voidstain family is a bit of an oddity on the society. We realized long ago that the local enforcement it really only has two modes. It has the king orders you executed or exile, really. But there was a lot of gray space in the middle that there wasn't really, as you've seen, we don't really have a police force per se, or at least we didn't. The house that is now known as Voidstain, they forced the king's hand. The Fitzgeralds had to implement a new system. It's why we now have a lot of security in space and why you will see armed guards around. And also, unfortunately, forced the necessity of the Cloud Palace as Sacatur's ancestors planned a palace coup alongside a traveling... he presented himself as a religious figure, but as we were informed later, was a cultist of one of the unspeakable evils that the God Emperor protects us from. The Voidstain family stood with this man and attempted to overthrow the throne for their own benefit, although they later learned it was in fact in the name of one of these unspeakable dark gods. The family was executed, of course. The cultist was put down in rather spectacular fashion, and the tone of the society changed ever so slightly. You will notice that we're not allowed to open carry weapons anymore. That is because only the Fitzgeralds and their retinue are allowed to control. He kind of like looks to your weapons, Valentyne says. I would recommend disposing of those before you go out and about. It would be... a shootable offense, to be quite blunt. And then he looks over at Eli and he's like, same thing with the umbrella shotgun, sir. I thought you'd say that.
It's just an umbrella.
Yes, of course. Well, that particular umbrella should probably stay on your ship. After all, it's meant to stop things falling from above rather than expelling things outward in a violent burst.
Agreed, says Valentyne when we're standing by the door, to be clear.
Yeah. He says, in any case, Sacatur was the youngest, is the son of the youngest nephew of the Voidstain family. Only a few distant relatives survived the purge, having been cleared of all charges. Of course, the void stain, as it were, lingers on the family such that they were renamed as a point of shame. This has been now two full generations since the destruction of the house, and only now are they starting to take their first trembling steps back into the society. Sacatur is known to be incredibly intelligent, if somewhat quiet, and has certainly felt the results of being shunned and being a part of the family for some time. Many think he would rather have his nose in a book than in any part of the society that has so spurred him. Unfortunately, the Voidstains are certainly not welcome anywhere else in the galaxy and thus are trying to make their way here. Interestingly, The family was able to retain a degree of wealth, particularly when proven that the distant relatives who had earned their money in a variety of different sort of more handyman-style jobs around the city, plumbing, electrical, those sorts of things. The family was incredibly vital, and the services they provided incredibly vital, such that when the royal house attempted to take over those functions, they all ceased to work rather quickly. As a result, the exemption was given for the distant relatives. And so the Voidstein family continues to act as part of the maintenance team with, of course, oversight from the throne on all jobs. They're rarely left alone, and everyone thinks it is rather a bold choice for Sacatur to step forward. But many believe that his mothers believe this to be the only way that the family can re-enter the society in any way, shape, or form. Lizardman has his chances at almost zero, but they are absolutely thrilled that he's attempting it. It is one of the stranger things we have seen, and after all, who doesn't love a redemption story?
All right, Valentyne doesn't know what to think of this motherfucker, but that's not enough information to be sure one way or the other. This is a big old question mark. Valentyne does not like big old question marks.
Yeah.
Anybody else have their own internal thoughts?
Morgan is like internal sirens. Cult people, don't like, not good.
He's exactly the same threat as the rest of them to Eli.
Eli just doesn't want to talk to anybody.
Peels another target sticker off the sheet.
Yeah. It's like, a little bit worse because of the cultish stuff going on. And Eli's put down a number of, cults on ships and stuff that they boarded. So,
Yeah, Attikus doesn't know why this entire bloodline wasn't like struck from the annals of history. Like this planet has truly lost its way.
yeah.
Yep.
It all needs to be burnt down.
All right, and then finally, Hugh moves along to a picture of, I got to pull the name back up because it's 9 names. Frederick Henry Jackson Dendrick Luther Fitzgerald, the king of Greybridge. And this is Don Cheadle at his most impish. So like I'm talking Cheadle in like House of Lies.
Yes, the best Cheadle.
Yeah, or in
the horniest Cheadle.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
AKA
I was gonna say, or in
Cheadle.
Black Monday, which is also a very horny, impish Cheadle. They go hand in hand. But just like again, that easy smile, and just a clear sense of command. And Hugh says, and finally, we come to the Fitzgeralds. So it's him, and then next to him is his cousin, who is just straight up Henry Cavill. Just I'm getting him into the Warhammer first. So take that, Amazon. We did it. Canonically, Henry Cavill is Duke Wixthrop here, and we're done. Congratulations, everybody.
Well, now it's going to be a race to see which of us fucks Duke's Wixthrop. That's what's
There you go. Gotta reload those abs arms. I can reload
both.
those abs.
Are you
too.
kidding? Both. Get him in a bathtub.
Toss a coin to your Duke Wixthrop. He says, so the Fitzgeralds were tasked by the Lords of Terra to resettle and rebuild Greybridge after the unpleasantness that this planet previously had. The earliest, there are rumors, and hearsay, Lizardman has been quite explicit that she believes, or they, or he, we actually don't know. Lizardman suggests that, and others have that have preceded them, that there may be a familial connection to the Terra in some way, shape, or form that led to an otherwise unknown family suddenly being granted the domain of a full planet. It does seem rather odd, but honestly, amongst the society, the Fitzgeralds have ruled for so long that it is almost immaterial. They are as old as the planet, as old as the society itself, and indeed are the architects of it. They've been able to benefit from all industry that has come up here. All of the family's industries have paid into the Fitzgeralds' pockets, though they seem to have wealth all their own. The majority of the Fitzgeralds live in the Cloud Palace and rarely descend down into the society itself. When they do, it is often for events like a celestial season. But The king himself, Frederick, is known for his love of sport and games and entertainments, and is well loved by the citizens of the society. There is always a bit of a chafing when one has to pay one's wealth to a royal family, but Frederick Henry Jackson Dendrick Luther Fitzgerald is indeed, of the Fitzgeralds the planet has seen, one of the better ones. Little is known about Duke Wixthrop. He is quiet and brooding, which of course has led the society to be ever so curious about what his deal is. He has expressed some reticence at being part of the celestial season, and yet being the last eligible member of the Fitzgerald bloodline, he is, of course, a necessity in being a part of this. It does seem he is interested in a legitimate connection, as I have told you. Lizardman suggests that behind his brooding exterior, there is indeed a beating heart worth winning, but of course...
Nah, it just means he's boring.
Also possible. Whoever said that. Lizardman also said it's possible he's just boring. There is indeed the term smolder has been thrown around a lot, but little is known of him. He has spent a lot of time in the Cloud Palace himself. However, he does seem to be putting in an effort, as it were. So I'm sure you will see him about, and he will of course be involved in the variety of events. As I previously mentioned, the Fitzgerald family is running out of heirs, and unfortunately, Frederick, amongst some of his relatives, have made some poor choices of who to marry over time. Frederick himself is twice divorced, and neither is on speaking terms with neither of them. As a result, there is some concern about the future of the house. Greybridge would not function without a Fitzgerald of some sort on the throne. And Frederick has frankly made it rather clear that he doesn't care that much. As long as someone in the family line picks it up, he's not concerned about, his child taking the throne. One thing about Frederick is he is rather distracted a lot of the time. His pursuit of entertainment does mean that he is often less concerned about the running of the society. But between the ball and songs, the Versailles, and the Kyros, that hasn't been an issue to this point. Not many know whether the Duke will actually be a good ruler, nor that he will indeed become a ruler, but that is where the rumors are pointing. So that is what. Thank you for attending my my TED talk. Ted is a wonderful speaker here on Greybridge, and we named these after him. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to attempt to answer them. However, with your 4 successes, I've given you a lot of information and would be loath to give you much more.
Yeah, I think Valentyne actually feels like they've got what they need, and the questions he would ask would give away too much what they're thinking, and that's an on the ship, no one hears it conversation, not a let's talk in the house chat. He does have 2 questions, and he'll say, so from what you've stated, we will be participating in a hunt, a race, and a dance. There will also be a gala ball, and that we will need to host an event on this property, I believe.
Yes, that is correct. So of the events, there is the race will occur both. It's a bit of a 2-part race. One part will take place in Greybridge itself to show your ability to handle some of the local creatures. However, given our
creatures.
love of yes, there are some domesticated animals that are very similar to horses, but have feathers in a couple places to make them cool in sci-fi.
Oh, good. I hate when animals aren't sci-fi.
Yes, you must have the sci-fi.
Wait, so is it the race also the hunt?
No, they're 2 separate things. So you start on a horse.
Racing animals?
You start on a horse, you ride that horse onto a ship, but then you take off with the ship and you race around space a little bit, and you come back. We'll see who wins.
And then you shoot the horse. That's the hunting part.
Shooting the horse is optional.
No, you will ride that horse for the hunt later. It's that horse is, you're going to need, you will need a good horse, by the way.
Okay, so
I assume you brought some with you.
What's a horse?
We'll come to that. Let's focus on the information we can get here. So, race first.
Yes, race first, followed by... So, it's important to note that the dances and the social parties are quite a big part of this. The various houses will each be vying to host something, which is why you must absolutely attempt to host one of these. The welcome party will, of course, be thrown by the ball and songs, just given their station and their position. So it's important to note that each season of the 4 seasons will occur in a span of weeks. That's one of the wonderful things that Cloud Palace does. Of course, Lord Van Houten, you know this. This has been a famous part of our planet, but for your friends. In spring, we shall have the race and the welcome dance. That will be coming up rather shortly. You've probably already noticed the rain is starting to let up as our king begins to shape the very nature of the weather. He says like a person who's really proud of their hometown, looking around at like Valentyne and Morgan and Eli.
Valentyne has metal eyes and is completely unreadable, but good luck to this guy.
Oh, he just, it's more for him than you. So we get the welcome dance and we have the race.
Yep.
In summer, we have the hunt and a party.
Is anybody scheduled to host the party?
Everyone is going to be vying for these. If you want to try and buy your way into one of them, you can.
Okay.
In fall, we have this is rather a silly one. We have a demonstration of art. And finally, in winter, we have the dance, which leads directly into kind of like the big gala event. So that one's going to be hosted by the Throne. So you're kind of out of luck on that. The things you could possibly host are...
Is there a social event in fall?
Oh, in fall, yes. I'm sorry. There is there's always a party. So there's a party there. The parties involve dancing. The dance is just a straight up like you have to be able to do a cool dance, otherwise you're fucked.
Yep.
So in terms of the places you could try and insert yourselves, the summer and fall parties are sort of up for grabs. The welcome party is being thrown by the Ball and Songs because they have the money to do so. And the final gala will take place essentially partially on ground and then partially in the outer grounds of the Cloud Palace.
That all makes sense. Okay.
On I should point out, a detachable platform that is attached to the Cloud Palace. So if things go wrong, they can just drop it.
Jesus.
Yep. Oh, no, that all checked out to Valentyne. He's like, finally, someone has decent security. Valentyne's final question will be, Hugh, you've referred to the society multiple times, which traditionally grammatically means that there is a more formal version of the society of blank, the society continuation to full name. What is there a full name of the society?
Oh no, we are simply known as the society. It's over time people would say like, oh, it's it's proper in fine society, and eventually we just drop that part. So there certainly is a civilization beyond Greybridge, we're aware, but here we are the society, and one must follow the society's rules and make a good show in the society if one wants to raise one's station.
Thank you. I just wanted to be sure of the proper terms.
Yes. If you just throw the in front of it and then speak with somewhat deference and reverence, as well as a sense of like, of course we all know this, then generally people will go, yes.
Excellent.
Attikus is going to remember that. That little trick. Just say the in front of a bunch of nouns.
Eli is just like waiting for winter.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions for our esteemed guest?
We know that the race is partly on the surface of the planet and then in space. Do we know anything about the hunt?
Yes. So we're one of the only wild spaces left, aside from, unfortunately, our property here, is the former grounds of the Cloud Palace. The building itself was built on Greybridge. Unfortunately, after the unpleasantness with the Voidstain Rebellion, it was tactically removed from the surface and now floats up amongst in the sky. That said, the royal grounds are still very impressive, and there's a variety of local wildlife. Truly, it is a favored pastime of King Fitzgerald. His first name is Frederick, so I was right the first time. King Frederick is known to love the hunt, and as a result, the groundskeepers ensure that the local wildlife population remains protected for hunting purposes, as well as that it continues to flourish. So there's a variety of wildlife, small and large. Of course, the larger the game you can catch and kill, the better people will view it. But
what's the largest game on the planet?
That would be the Ehrlich. It is a beautiful animal, large, sort of with a squat snout, and a series of sort of large branching antlers that run across the crest of its head and then down across its back. The meat is absolutely delicious if cooked correctly and palatable if cooked incorrectly. You will actually see, and he kind of like steps on something squingy on the floor. And he's like, this was once a Ehrlich pelt, actually. They are incredibly sought after for adornment. Unfortunately, this one has seen the, ravages of time. But yes, if you can find an Ehrlich, they are rare. Bluntly speaking, with apologies to your lordship, they don't like to fuck. So they are hard to, the population is always low. They are rather dumb animals, if I'm being quite honest, but incredibly fierce, difficult to catch, and incredibly rare.
Took Attikus a second, but he gets it now. He's like, I don't want to fuck the earth. But now he's got it. Okay.
Valentyne will say from the side, in terms of the hunt, does one undertake the hunt solo, or are these aristocratic teams of hunters?
If the Lord can take one sort of companion with them, of course, to go pick up the animal and to take care of their guns and that sort of thing. Essentially a hunt caddy, if you will.
Excellent. That is good to know.
It is worth noting, of course, Captain, if you did choose to enter the hunt yourself or such things, anyone can enter any number of these events. Of course, you wouldn't be, hunting on behalf of your lord. You'd be hunting if you sought the Duke's hand yourself. And I suppose that, you have to be somewhat noble or special, so that doesn't really account for either of you or me. But as someone who is society adjacent, Captain, you would be most welcome. Just remember that it would be for you, not for him.
Excellent. If you have no other questions, my lord, would you like to, perhaps I shall prepare your chambers. You can retire for a rest.
You may.
Excellent. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you for your hard work. We appreciate all of this, and it's time for us to be about our day. I will be in touch soon about our plans for this manor and this property.
Wonderful. The Void Stain technician should be here in a few hours to begin to wire this place again.
Majestic. And then Valentyne will just kind of give everybody nods and then hurry out of there to go, quote unquote, set up the quarters on the ship.
Let's get back on the ship. Get back on the boat.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Seems like we understand at least the terms and our competition. I believe it's time for us to make a plan.
From the Lizardman letters. You will, of course, note that Versailles is not hosting the opening party, which is quite a slap in the face to the family. However, when asked, it is said that Lord Tridimus said, "Ugh, a party? How basic," which, of course, is quite an insult to the Balding song. However, when asked, Lady Guinevere, of course, simply had a smile and said, "Well, sometimes basic things can be nice, too." I will be shocked if both of them make it through without killing each other, quite frankly. Having learned about your rivals, you've returned to the Marnie's song as the slow facelift on the Van Houten estate begins. Where we left off, Valentyne, you had just said it's time to make a plan. So, to recap the major events that you're planning for, the physical seasons will be changing over the next 4 weeks here on Greybridge. Spring is coming first. With it will come a large welcome party thrown by the Balensong family, followed by the race, which begins on horseback and then leads to Spaceback. Spaceback. The summer season will involve a hunt in the Cloud Palace grounds, as well as a party. The court party planner will be kind of coming around to all the major houses to hear their pitch in order to determine which two parties should be held. So that will be happening presently. In the fall season, there will be the demonstration of art, where the various heirs can show off their artistic talents, as well as another party. And then finally, with winter comes the dance, as well as a final gala where Duke Wixthorpe will choose his chosen mate, and they will ascend with the Cloud Palace, and with it your chance to hunt Trin Rakai, the Eldari fugitive who is at the heart of this courtly intrigue. So, knowing that the party planner will be coming by soonish, not today, but in the next few days. You do have some time to plan. Valentyne, I turn it over to you.
Excellent. So it's clear what our goals are. We need to win over the Duke of Wixthrop and defeat the rivals as appropriate, and we need to compete in these various events. The first thing that I think we must accept moving forwards, for the sake of redundancy and the overall effectiveness of the plan, Morgan, you will also need to be competing in these various events. We cannot risk Attikus having something occur where he cannot move forwards, which means you'll both be competing for the Duke's hand. However, Morgan, because this is a secondary goal, our priority for you is to perhaps romance or win over one of the other rivals, whichever we don't believe we can eliminate. I'm going to say not Trinimus, a little bit too smart, a little bit too hungry. We don't need to get too close there. However, Guinevere Balansong is a history of emotional tragedy that echoes your own. Use those keys, get inside, crack open the weakness, win her heart. Any objections to this?
No objections, Inquisitor.
Not an objection so much as a question of assuming Morgan here does indeed win the heart of the Duke or what have you, and gets invited up to the palace. How do we join her?
As guests to what I presume will be the wedding.
Me, a competitor, as a guest.
Well, clearly the two of you are friends. Aristocrats don't always feel the same way about battles as they do afterwards. You can invite someone as an insult to bring them there and rub your face in their victory. You could have an ally where, after a boxing match, two boxers shake hands and say they appreciate each other. Those kinds of conflicts.
All right, I see.
Excellent. Now, in terms of events we can have on the property, here's what I'm thinking. We should turn this place into something tremendously interesting. In terms of combat, in terms of other things, clearly the king has an interest in those things, and the king's interests will always sway those around him. We could perhaps put up a battle of champions, where each of the rivals could bring in a combat champion, we bring in an arena, and then Lord Van Houten can, in a surprising twist for entertainment value, enter himself as his own champion and offer the others the chance to do so. They don't need to be matches to the death, we're not interested in that, but the chance to show off one's skills would allow him to put himself, shall we say, above the rest.
Right.
Would this be our pitch for one of the parties?
Yes. I think we could perhaps, there'd been mention of the possibility of a maze. We could set up one of those for entertainment. We could offer drinks. We could offer duels of champions.
I want to be clear, the maze was not for entertainment. It was to confound intruders.
The nice thing is we could confound them with entertainment. We'll build a maze, do a fireworks display, a variety of those things. It's a chance for something to be different, something that we know will appeal to the king, which would allow us a greater chance of being selected for the party. And doing so up front could set us up as an interesting competitor. Also, Eli, if you're willing to enter as a champion, you could serve the lady rogue tradester.
Oh my gosh. And Eli's just like an opportunity to fight and do something he understands. It would be my pleasure.
Excellent. So we have the possibility of combat for our two combatants and a game of the mind for the rest of us. Now, in terms of this early race, I overheard through your microbeads, which were on during your mission, thank you for that, that there were a number of ships that were available. I don't believe that Marnie's song will be the kind of lighter that has a chance of being able to win this event. Now, you've claimed the armored box for our dear Attikus, a wise choice. Do you believe you could get your hands on that speedier, lighter craft for yourself?
It is entirely possible. It was supposed to go to another family, but we didn't ask which one, so perhaps if something bad happened to them, that would be a free vehicle.
Or if a certain vehicle happens to disappear and then show up at the race while it's being searched for, that kind of controversy might draw the attention of, let's just say, a king looking to be entertained.
Understood, Inquisitor.
We also need a horse. I don't know anything about horses. I assume they must be exactly like vehicles. Eli, clearly you're our horse expert. Could the two of you perhaps chase down a horse for both yourself, Captain Rawls, and our dear Lord Van Houten?
I don't know nothing about racing.
Yes, well, that's why we're going to try to get the horse as quickly as possible, because you have about, I'm going to conservatively estimate, 2 hours to figure out how to ride a horse.
I'm going to ride a living animal.
Yes.
Is a horse... Oh.
Why?
Because it's what they say the event is.
I don't bloody understand these people.
No, I agree. It's completely insane. Why wouldn't they ride perfectly good anti-grav cars? But no, why ride anything at all? Just simply line everyone up, do a test of their firearm skills, a test of their melee combat skills, have them do some math tests, maybe a leadership question, and then select the best candidate. Again,
that's a party.
Yes, the Progenium knows how to do these things. But these are all grumpy old children who would fail every one of those tests when compared to the average servant. So you ride horses into the sky. Okay.
Now, number 2.
Yes.
I don't know nothing about hunting. I ain't never killed something that wasn't trying to kill me with a weapon in its hand.
Yes, that's why you and I will be hunting together as hunting partners. We'll find something. The other thing that could occur, there are 2 interesting ways we could play out this hunting game. Obviously, we could work together in the field, bring down a large target for whoever seems to be having gained the most attention from the Duke between the 2 of you, make sure they get the interesting kill. The other thing we could do, which is a little bit more devious, but if one wants to make a show while out hunting and bringing in the most interesting pelt, if one was able to capture one of one's rivals alive and bring them back as the thing you had successfully hunted, I would argue that is more impressive than capturing any wild beast.
Would we skin them for their pelt?
You don't need to bring back the pelt. I believe you're bringing back the full creature. I'm saying bring them in alive shows more skill than just shooting a rival in the face and then trying to justify it afterwards. I'm saying sneak up, capture, handcuff, bring back and say, look what I did. I hunted man, the most dangerous game.
Indeed.
Otherwise an Ehrlich, I guess. Or if we could find some way to attract enough creatures' attentions to attack a rival, perhaps through pheromones, and then rescue them while capturing and hunting all of those beasts, that's also a win.
It's a dizzying plan, sir. I'd love to just get the final plan on that. I'm not sure I can handle that many threads, sir.
Okay, well, there were 2. There was a lot of creatures and rescue someone or capture someone.
Or an Ehrlich.
Yeah, let's just not do that one.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
Unless
we can eliminate even more, that's
unless
fine.
we can find Ehrlich pheromones, which I would not be against, assuming that they have those. In terms of the art, I have no idea. It's too far out. And in terms of what we will do at the second party, I think, honestly, it's too far out. We need to figure out who are our greatest rivals and our greatest threats, either win them over through romance with dear Morgan, or eliminate them politically, financially, or physically in a way that will not be traced back to us. Unfortunately, it sounds like we will be without arms outside of the hunt, but I would believe that our dear Lord Van Houten's hand is something that cannot be disarmed quite so literally or easily.
Attikus raises his massive hand.
Yes, Lord Van Houten.
I also don't know nothing about dancing.
Morgan will be working with you on that, because, frankly, I don't know much about dancing outside of the minimal taught by the Scholar Progenium, and Eli does not know about dancing. I'll just say that looking at Eli. You 2 will be dancing up a storm over the coming days.
I thought that would be part of the plan. I will ask Hugh for some local videos about dancing.
Morgan, do you know anything about art?
Nothing about this system or what they consider art. I would have to do research.
No, what do you consider art? We're not playing their game. Frankly, we don't have time. It's Attikus.
You could do very large finger painting.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that sort of art specifically. I only know what things I have seen in passing.
Okay, so you don't make art. Eli, do you make any kind of art on your own time?
I write words, but they're just my thoughts. But isn't writing art
like poetry?
I don't.
Do you write poetry, Eli?
I don't believe it's considered poetry.
Well, what's poetry or not poetry is up to the eye of the reader. Eli, I command you to read us a portion of your journal, just one page, so that we can understand the quality of the writing.
It wasn't meant to be public.
I understand. Some of the best art isn't. Read.
Okay. Eli goes over to his area on the ship and retrieves his journal. Just any page.
Your choice. Whatever you think is the most artistically interesting.
Again, I don't know that it's art, sir.
All right, then whatever makes you feel the most.
Okay. He flips to like the day they like first arrived, like the first night that they after they came back to the ship from meeting Hugh and all that stuff. I don't understand. I don't understand these people. I don't understand this world. Why does this world exist? Why was it not destroyed? These are the questions I have, but cannot be answered. Shit, I want a drink. But shit, no, I don't. But I do, but I don't. And then it's scribbled. I think I was saying,
That's quite moving, sir.
I'm going to be honest, I'm surprised by the artistic quality of this. Can we capture the inner life of Colonel Attikus Viss in this way? We must. Eli, you will be working with Colonel Viss each night to capture his thoughts and his feelings. Combine them with your own and put them together in the most dramatically interesting way. We need the quality of your internal life and spoken words so that they can be shared with this society. And Morgan and I, once we have received it, can figure out the most interesting way to visually stage it while Attikus reads the words.
All right, Attikus, what are you angry about?
Again, we'll do that tonight. Right now, we need to figure out the plan. So, seems like we have a plan for most of the events. We have an overall thing. We are going to need a horse, and you are going to need a ship.
2 horses.
Yes, 2 horses. That's more accurate than my original description. Good job.
Well, I suppose we can just ask around again, but if I have enough time, I will just try to...
Maybe, Hugh knows where to get horses from.
This makes a great deal of sense. We could perhaps use a search for a horse through legitimate means and you through illegitimate. It will also separate you up as allied but separate characters within the political landscape of the society.
Bit of a friendly rivalry.
It makes sense to me.
All right. May the best, fancy person win.
Indeed.
Excellent. Friendly rivalry. And then he's like, Morgan, if I could just speak for you a second. He's over the corner. To be entirely clear, you will need to be assisting Attikus at every step of this journey.
I am aware, Inquisitor Valentyne. Yes, I will help him in every way that I am able to.
Wonderful. We will obviously not be sharing our quarters in the evening during this time because that would be against all of our covers out in the public world. But we will need to check in from time to time.
I will be available to you.
Excellent. Well then, it's time to find horses.
All right, so Morgan, you're looking for horses and ships through illegitimate means. Attikus, you're going to be talking to Hugh about them through legitimate means.
And we technically have a ship for Attikus because it's the one ordered for the Van
one
Houtens.
for Morgan.
Yeah. No. I was just like, we're just horse. They got both.
Yeah. I don't even know what fucking rolls to make for.
What's a horse roll, Tom?
Yeah.
What's the horse stat?
Driving?
Probably
Yeah.
streetwise for the ability to find a criminal horse.
Honestly, I'm thinking about yes, that is true. That's where you get bad
Criminal
horse
horses.
from fucking Dr. Horrible. But I'm looking for Attikus specifically because what's interesting is Attikus is asking someone who works for him to find a thing. And
Coercion. I shake him until a horse falls out.
Yeah, I'll take coercion.
I'm
That's
just
fine.
joking. It can be whatever you want.
Well, but what? How would?
I don't. Attikus doesn't want to be mean to.
No,
I was
sure.
going to say, could Valentyne, who will have access to a terminal, be ordering things, like theoretically have a lot of that? Could he use perception to see if he could identify a business or somebody that they could chase down a horse
Sure.
from through
Yep, I'd buy that.
all that stuff? Okay.
And then we can deal with streetwise for the criminal horse.
All right.
The most evil of all horses.
A phrase none of us knew we were going to be saying. Not even Tom, and he knew the horse thing. Okay,
Sci-fi horse.
What's the difficulty for this one, Tom?
I think we're just going to say difficulty. Probably, honestly, 1. There's a lot of businesses, and just trying to buy things legitimately with money is not a difficult thing. In fact, the only reason the difficulty is there at all is for supply and demand, and for just this whole the way this planet and the society works is so fucking foreign to you and how you think that like I'm just trying to imagine someone who like was trained in the Schola Progenium and then as an Inquisitor having to use the Yellow Pages and being like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like, why are there pictures?
He knows the administratum. Like, he knows all of the technical. Like, so he's an expert in bureaucracy, but not performative bureaucracy.
Yeah, it's just literally like there's ads and things. And it's like, what? No. Like, none of this makes sense. So, yeah. So that'll be that. I'm surprisingly will not be spending a story point.
And neither will we.
What? But it's the horse check. Okay, fine. How will you solve my can you buy an object or animal, I suppose, test? Okay, so that's fine. So you've got that. I'd say a boost just for like Hugh being around. I know you're not using him for this, but just like
I mean, if he's using the terminal, yeah.
He's also presumably setting you up with like the easiest version of all these things. Like,
you
know, he's giving you the Apple version rather than like, here's this funky like Linux system. He's just like, here you go. Click this button. This button, make buy.
Perfect.
Make buy horse.
Make buy horse.
Press the horse button. Anything else?
I think that is it.
All right, let's go for it. 3 success and 3 advantage.
Shit.
Nice.
Say the yay rather than nay. So yeah, you start looking through it again with the challenge. The real challenge here is that the good horses are very expensive, and I think the minute you see them, Valentyne, it's like, oh yeah, you're aware that like creatures like this are used in other parts of the Imperium. Like there are Imperial Guard who ride horses. It's just like, okay, bud, like sure, that's your jam. But the only challenge you would face here is that they're fucking expensive to get a good horse now.
Mm-hmm.
But like money's not a problem for you. So, all right. So you're able to pick up I want to make clear it's not the best horse because the best horses have already been purchased.
Yeah.
But like a very, very good horse for Attikus. More importantly, it is a fucking tank. Like it is a big, thick horse, which is needed for our big,
small, thick boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Our big little boy?
Yeah.
Our little big boy? However you prefer to.
The short king.
Yeah, the heaviest jockey. So, yeah, you're able to get the horse. What is the horse's name, Ryan?
Oh, this horse's name is Victrix.
Cool. So you're able to arrange that. Hugh will go and like make sure that the horse is delivered appropriately. Again, you're living on Aristocrat planet, so like horse delivery is a remarkably easy to arrange thing. It's not uncommon, particularly with the season in place. There is you probably get pinged with a notice of like, are you sure you want it delivered here? Thing just because like the Van Houten family is not. No one is expecting any of this. So there's a little bit of a like, are you sure you want me to deliver your Amazon package or your pizza to like the dead end street that no buildings are? Yes.
You want to deliver to this dirt lot?
I love the sewer. Give it here. Yeah. How else will we share it with Splinter? So so that's great. So you've got Victrix. That's good. Let's flip over to Morgan and the dark side of this. I also feel like you wouldn't be able to buy Morgan a horse or a ship because you were very clearly like the Billingberg. You've probably set up an account for Morgan, but like the Billingberg accounts.
This is all
Van Houten.
designed behind Van Houten, and I'm his valet. So there's no way I could do any financial work for Morgan because I wouldn't. So Morgan's got her own little account.
Mm-hmm.
Morgan's money.
I'm just gonna try to press on those new criminal contacts that I have.
Fantastic.
Hey, you liked money? I have money.
Do you remember money? I've got more.
I got
Yeah,
some.
dog, I heard you like money, so put some money on your money.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go with streetwise. Let's start with the horse, and then we'll do the ship separately, just because they're different things.
Yes.
Horse is going to be difficulty 2, only because you're going through criminal contact zones, but I'll give you a boost for Farley Finegrove and her kind of network.
Perfect.
And I'll give you an additional boost for money. Again, like if you guys didn't have money, a lot of these problems would be a lot harder, but being able to just throw crowns at people or thrones at people just kind of makes your problems go away.
Sweet. All right, I'm doing it. 3 successes, 1 advantage.
Okay, fantastic. So you actually get a better horse than Attikus because you're going through back channels, and it's like this one shouldn't like. my assumption would be something to the effect of like,
this horse fell off the truck.
yeah, you just open a trench coat. There's just a bunch of horses.
Horse fell off the truck and like cannot run. Have to put it down. Sorry.
It's now a cyborg horse. They're like,
okay.
yeah, you can take this.
Oh, okay. This horse has a second lease on life.
Yeah,
Good.
no, it's bionic horse. I would say this is probably a horse that should be like a former champion who should be used for breeding stock. Who is instead they're like, oh yeah, we just give you this horse for that.
Yeah.
And because you're like buying it quietly, it's not something you would find in a terminal. What is your cool horse's name?
Star Killer.
Oh shit. Write that
It's
down.
one of those hardcore dark horse.
Yeah, I love it. Katy Perry would write a song about it. It's good.
Yes.
Makes good comics most of the time. Okay, cool. So you've got Star Killer, which also does a hunt. So just as a quiet aside, I'm fucking obsessed with horse racing names. They're so fucking silly. And the fact that everyone is just like dead serious, but like, and now, well, I mean, we've talked about this on DD&D with like Alabaster Tuesday and shit, but I just love the idea of like a bunch of aristocrats in a war-torn future space being like, Star Killer. My horse is Star Killer. Make perfect sense. I love it.
That's what
Yeah, I love it deeply. Amazing. So you got Star Killer.
very good.
Let's go to the ship. So I think in this case, this is probably more like a conversation with Farley to see what you want. Are you specifically trying to get that ship, or like just a ship?
I would. Yeah, let's try and get that ship because that's going to shake things up more and it's going to piss somebody off, which will give us some kind of leverage. Whether that's good or bad, a big swing. So Valentyne would want.
All right. Let me roll a d6 to determine whose ship this is.
Oh.
Roll 1 sec.
Oh no, it's Valentine's.
He's in the races too.
Who's this Gilliman fella? Is he gonna be mad? Okay, interesting. All right. So you arrive back at the shipyards, and Farley greets you. Today she's wearing like a drastically different outfit. She's wearing like heavy welding gear. So it's kind of like slowly stomping around the place, and is clearly like adding her own fixes. That said, the fast ship you saw previously is currently tarped.
Yeah.
And they're working on the one that you've secured for Attikus, which I think we can say is kind of a slightly more like it's you have to be able to ride like up and then leap into it. So it's probably a single person ship. Like it's got a cockpit. It's not a cargo ship. I was trying to imagine if there was a situation where you could literally ride the horse up the deck and then hop in, but I feel like that would be too much ship. Like flying the Razor Crest from Mandalorian in a race seems really stupid. So it's small. It's kind of closer to almost to a starfighter shape and size. It is a bit bulkier than the one you were looking at previously. If the one you were looking at before looked like, fancy and slick and fast, this thing is a bit chunkier, but it also looks like if it got like hit by munitions, it wouldn't crumple. Yes. It's the equivalent of like a well-made car versus like a very affordable car, where it's like, oh, if you get in an accident, this thing will crumple to dust, as opposed to like this thing's got some heft. So I guess like kind of a muscle car versus a cheap sporty deal.
Yeah.
And so she's working, and it's ugly. Like the work she's doing is rough, but it's fast. So you can tell that like they're not spending the extra time to sand things down, and like really it's more like, okay, I'm just going to melt some metal onto this. Good enough. Like this will hold. So a bit more of a patchwork job. But as you approach, she just turns and says, yes, Captain Varn, yeah, we're still working. It'll be ready in time for the race, but you got to give us more time. These things don't just magically happen overnight.
No, of course. I'm not here to rush you. It looks like you're doing a fine and perfect job for a vessel for my Lord Van Houten.
Sorry, it looks like
perfectly.
shit. Oh, thank you. That's good. Yeah, I'm sorry it looks bad, but if you think you'll be happy with it, that's great news. It's good news, everyone. They don't care that it looks like shit. And everyone's like, yay. You see the one guy with like a Kyros color scheme, just like kind of his shoulders fall. He was clearly like going to spray paint the shit out of it, but now he doesn't need to. He starts folding up his work.
If I see that you are working hard and very busy, but if you have a moment to spare, I would like to have a conversation privately with you?
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you don't care how this thing looks, then I actually got more time than we thought. And so she pulls a fresh cigar out, lights it off her welding torch, throws the welding, literally tosses the torch to someone who catches it out of the air with a slight look of horror, and then goes to work patching it up. But she's like, sure, just we'll move away from prying ears, and then just slow, chunky Iron Man walks around a corner and takes a long drag of her cigar and says, all right, well, what do you need?
Well, I appreciate your help in getting the ship ready for the race for my lord, but I have come here for more personal matters on my own behalf.
Okay.
Of course, working for Van Houten is great, but I need to make my own name and own splash, you see.
Wait, are you planning on entering the race for the Duke's hand?
I did not say that, and you did not hear it from me.
Of course not. But, I read in the Lizardman letter that maybe, a cool captain might be joining. Not you, of course, but someone else. So if someone else were to join, they didn't want to use their own ship?
That sounds appropriate. Some of those rumblings and grumblings might be true.
Hypothetically, then, so if you were this captain, if we're talking about this imaginary captain, that captain wouldn't want to use the ship they arrived in.
Of course not. Why would they want to do that?
I assumed that captain had a cool ship. Oh. Took a big drag of the cigar. Also looking vaguely confused. Does that captain not have a cool ship?
That captain's ship is for private affairs only. And perhaps this captain wants to take something from someone else, which is more interesting, is it not?
Right. Oh, man. Farley's nodding, hey, she gets it now. She's 100% on board. It didn't make any sense to her that you wouldn't want to use your own roguish...
Traitorish?
Roguish tradester.
The stir is what I couldn't remember. Yeah. No idea why you wouldn't want to use that ship, but now that it's about taking something away from someone, she's like, of course. Because even though she is, much more blue collar, she's still part of the society. She fucking gets it. So she nods and says, all right, well, what are you looking for here? Were you be talking about, hypothetically, the one that's that your lord passed on?
Hypothetically, the one that might be the newest and fastest and had the best crew seem to make it.
She blushes a little bit. She's like, yeah, they really are the best crew. We're very good. Okay. Well, I mean, I feel kind of bad for the guy, but yeah, if you want it.
Of course I want it.
How do you, I'm not sure how much rogue traders make, but and she lists an astronomically large figure. You can pay for it. You have more than enough money.
Oh. I could pay for that easily, but I could also give you something, and perhaps the keys or entry to the ship slips through someone's fingers. Not your fault, of course.
Interesting. Okay. I'm going to need a skullduggery check, please.
Get paid twice. Better. You can have.
The ship fell off the back of a bigger ship.
Yeah. The ship fell off the back of a horse.
Yeah, there it is.
All right. What's my difficulties?
Okay, so this is going to risk her position in the society and her professional reputation. So I'm going to say difficulty 3.
Okay.
You get a boost for how much coin you're throwing around.
Yep.
You get a setback because she's expressed that she feels badly about this for reasons that will become clear in a moment. I think that's it from my side of things.
Okay. Yeah, the only other thing I could possibly get is because I get a boost for concealing information, if this counts.
Yeah,
even though
honestly,
it's a skullduggery check.
Yeah, that's close enough. I think it's adjacent.
All right, we're going to just see how this plays out. Oh, fuck me. 1 advantage.
Okay. So at this, she looks kind of pained at this, and she's like, look, Captain, I wish I could sort you out that way. And again, if you've got that much coin, I'd be happy to try and build you one of these as quickly as I can. But look, that Sakutar guy, he's got so little, man. I gotta tell you, he's real hard up, and The Voidstain, what their heretical ancestors did was horrible, and they got what was coming to them. But, I've always appreciated indoor plumbing, and we only have that because that family continues to work hard for us. And I'd feel bad fucking over another hardworking crew. And honestly, this ship's the only time I've ever seen that motherfucker smile. So I'm afraid I can't sell you this.
What if I told you that after the race, the ship would be returned to this Voidstain?
I would tell you that he would be really bummed to miss the race that he purchased it for, and that afterwards it would be kind of useless. Like, look, I'm going to smoke this cigar, and then I'm going to throw it on the ground and stomp it out. If you came back to me later and said, I got you this cigar again, I'm not going to want it because what I wanted it for is already done. So I think this ship's off the table, Captain. If you want your own vessel, we can try and there's a number of other places. You can also talk to the Ballin Songs. If you got money, they might have one of their custom jobs available to you. But really, it would be tough to finish both ships, and the version we're going to be giving Sakatar isn't going to be the version he paid for because we're busy working on your Lord's rig. But I got a reputation here that goes beyond the celestial seasons.
I thought you were more of a cunning person, but I see you were just part of the society.
Well, I thought you could roll higher, but, we all have our foibles. She takes a long drag of the cigar and then just blows the smoke in your face. Says, be seeing you, Captain. And she turns on her heel and walks away.
All right. What is the timing between the horse race and the space race?
It is one race. So it is like you run a course.
Like a triathlon?
Yeah, it's like a triathlon. A duathlon.
Remember when he thought you could ride the horse into the ship?
Yeah, so it's literally like ride up alongside the ship, hop off your horse, hop in the ship, and take off. Now,
can you ride your horse fast enough to get to
someone else's
Sakatar's ship before he gets
that is a question.
Figure out how to start it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also like, can I just come in the middle of the night and steal the ship? But now they'll know it's me. So, fuck me.
I was gonna say your microbead pings. Valentyne has been listening, and he's just sending a request for a message.
Okay, I'm gonna step. Oh man, I got to be sure that I'm not anywhere anyone else has any listening devices. So I.
Can you roll a perception or a streetwise? Either will work. Difficulty of 2. Get a setback for being flustered, and another setback for you were standing in the middle of a town.
Yeah,
it is very hard to get all the angles of an uncontrolled environment.
All right, let's see. 1 success, 1 threat. Great, what does that mean?
So you are able to find a spot where you can take the call, but you're not 100% certain that it's the best worst place for the call, if that makes sense. So
okay. All right. Morgan is going to find a place and open up the connection.
Sure. I think honestly it's probably close to the ship where they're just making a lot of noise, like banging and crashing things.
Right.
For the threat, I'll say I'll just add a setback to a future dice. And that's just from legitimately like, I don't think because you got a success, no one is listening in on this, but it's just that like you go over there and it's the classic, like one of the mechanics like makes eye contact with you while working. And it's like, is someone listening? And it's just putting you a little bit on edge, and that edge will transfer forward, but you can make your call.
Yeah. She's going to make a call, and she's going to put her hand over her ear more and just, Robute, does our Lord need something?
Yes, excellent. Maintain your cover. So, it sounds like you have an interesting opportunity to make an introduction to Lady Balansong. Perhaps bring Eli as a footman and go see if you can get a custom job, but more importantly, make a good first impression.
Is there a particular way that I maybe can do that for the Lord?
Well, from what we know, she is super rich. Her family died. Maybe don't bring that up. She's kind, smart, and capable, and people don't like her for no reason. So, if she's pleasant, be pleasant. Otherwise, look for an opening. Be charming. People like you for some reason, so play into that.
Some reason? Jesus.
Understood. I will be back around then to pick up Clarence.
Excellent. Valentyne will disconnect.
Clang, 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 shipbuilding noises.
All right.
I was gonna say, I will assume that the voice calls and shit are encrypted, so it's not like him just saying this over an open radio.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are, but in the interest of not having full party around all the time, we will treat them like Metal Gear codec calls, where you like exactly as you said, Ryan, is like, if it's the kind of conversation that reasonably would be broadcast, then yes, you can ping in, but it's not like everyone's on an open channel all the time.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So treat it more like I will call you. In this case, I will, like, we've established that you're using open mics for these sorts of things. But
I mean, once we go to an adventure, we're also hiring staff right now. There'll be way too many channels open, and you can't do a thing while you're listening to a thing. This is like Valentyne has ordered a horse and is sitting around the house paying bills. He's just doing a lot of e-transfers and like making orders for the property. So it's not,
hey, pal, why would I want to pay a friend? Worthless.
I don't know what we owe this pal, but then again, Van Houten pays his debts. Sending money.
Excellent.
Yeah. Oh, man. Morgan is just sitting there kind of grinding down her impulses and trying to be like, this is what Valentyne said should be done versus she wants to be a shit so bad. But she's going to go back to Farley Finegrove and I just wanted to say again, thank you so much for your hard work, and I hope that there is no ill will going forward here.
And she kind of like looks at you with a bit of skepticism and says like, well, look, apparently I'm not a cunning person, so I don't know how I could bury any ill will, but the ship will be good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then she goes back to welding.
Peace out. Don't push it. Gotta get out of there.
Yep. And so with a dope horse but no ship, Morgan, you set out to return back to the Van Houten estate to collect Dear Clarence and to go calling on Lady Ballensong to attempt to make a first impression and maybe find a ship.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter as Attikus Viz, Laura Hamstra at EL Hamstring on Twitter as Eli Sharp, Del Borovic at Deltastic on Twitter as Morgan Rawls, and our Game Master Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's artwork was created by Del Borovic at delborovic.com, DELBOROVIC. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ads use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. We have merchandise available at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, and most importantly, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time. Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, OMG It's Big Nick, D&D and Things, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Flea Unit, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Nithrian, Garbo Ape, Locke, Sam Schaefer, Waffle Marine, Dagger Rain, Rob L, Dia De Los Hoodless, Diovasis, Loki Burrito, Squishy Werewolf, Remy, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.